back to Juniper's Christmas and the Secret Chapter Society. We are on day 21. Chaos. Okay, I know. As soon as you read that first line, you said the Christmas elves arrived on the scene too late to do anything about the sack crises. Our author has this tendency to tell us facts, and we don't like them. But I know I heard you going, Miss K, the elves did arrive. So they did. Yes, indeed, they did arrive. And I was hoping for them to more or less help Duchess. I wasn't worried about them finding the sack and saving the sack the way I'm worried about them saving Christmas. So that first sentence right there, obviously, the author was just dangling that carrot in front of me, and I had to wait. I had to be patient. That's something I'm not good at. Patience, not my thing. So let's see. After that, we have the crazy ride. Then there's, the trying to save Christmas, and the most unexpected thing in the story. Can you guess what I found to be the most unexpected part? If you said Jennifer Lane's crazy adventure, then you would be correct, because was that insane? Like all that she went through, several days with ending up in the hospital where Duchess and Mr. Carnegie, and then of course Nico and Juniper all ended up in that same place, all at the same time. But she had only been there, I guess, 8 hours or something. That was crazy how it came kind of full circle there. So she decides that she's going to do a little mini makeover and get her hair done, and ends up leaving the hair coloring treatment in her hair too long, because obviously she literally got ran into by Lars. So the Trudettes technically did have her, just not in the way I envisioned, but they were responsible for her ending up being, as we could say, out of commission. So I thought that was the most roundabout way to me being slightly correct, just slightly, because then there was the whole changing clothes. I love the fact that she thought that sweats were comfortable, and was like, who doesn't love sweats? They are cozy, definitely. So there was that, and then the movement of, taking her from the children's ward at one location to the regular part of the hospital, and getting a private room and all of that. So they didn't know who she was. So every time Juniper and Duchess called the hospital for their rounds to see if they had run across Jennifer Lane, they always said no, because they didn't know who she was. And I don't think they would have checked the juvenile ward anyways, because you wouldn't be a missing person over there. You could be, I guess, but you can't give out that information about children. That's illegal, and I think that's pretty much illegal in most countries. So even if they did call and they knew that her name was Jennifer Lane, because she was in the juvenile ward, they probably would have just been like, well, isn't she just underage? And technically a kid. So they would have never really known. So we thought that was just all this little very interesting ways to get there. And of course, then she couldn't find her voice when she saw Juniper. And so she's yelling out to her, but her voice is just totally against her on it. And not doing it. So she's just steps behind her, essentially. And of course, then she runs into Mr. Carnegie, but doesn't trust him. But she does know that, again, he works for the park system, and he's going to take her to the park. So, and of course, he keeps reassuring her that he's a good guy now. So they end up together on their way to the park. And he fills her in on things as they go, his end of the story. So I thought that was also another interesting thing. So if we go to page 307, that's where I really kind of hit on some things there. Oh, and then the whole magic in the air thing was confirmed. Jeez, you know, these things, they just keep happening. So it's 307 here. Right here, it says, that's not to say that the polar magic was entirely wasted. Magic's a funny thing. At a molecular level, it behaves like an organism that codes itself to the DNA of the wielder. And so when Juniper and Nico combined blast of power was thrown off by Duchess's ailing lungs, it bounced around a little, looking for DNA matches that needed help. Now again, it was looking for DNA matches to either Nico's DNA or to Juniper's DNA. So when directed, I guess they could give it to Duchess, but her body was rejecting it and not accepting it. So it needed to go to someone related to them. So it ends up in Juniper, his mom. So it found one in a small private room that was only a single stud wall away from where Duchess lay sprawled on the nurse's station. In this room, there lay a young, platinum blonde, tattooed woman who had been brought in 2 days earlier in a coma. As we now know, this woman was Juniper's mom. The magic splurged out of Nico and his Santa apprentice was not enough to actually physically change Duchess's tissue, but it was just enough to kickstart the brain of one coma victim, especially one who was desperate to wake up. There we go. That was her adventure was crazy. Okay, so then we've got them chasing after them, trying to get there. They're in eyesight most of the way, and she's going to catch up. But I yes, Mr. Carnegie did tell her some things, but I don't know that she knew Juniper was in as much danger as it turns out she was going to be in. So my question for today is, will Duchess recover and feel better knowing that her science was accurate or pretty accurate? Is this like, will she decide to return to being part of the real world again instead of hiding from it? And will maybe she pursue her science and her research of magic and spangles, but away from the, we'll call them mainstream, the normal scientists who aren't exploring unique things like magic and hope and belief? So that is my question for you today, and I will see you for 22 later.